I do that also.
God bless
Do
you.
you do a push mower?
It's a gas mower, but it's me propelled.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So it's not self-propelled. I have to push it.
Mower?
It's a gas mower, but
No,
it's
wait.
me propelled.
Hey, sorry. That's, you heard yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Susan was up yesterday and working by 1 o'clock.
Because we did it with the family.
Yeah, we lost a lot of things in the morning. Religious school we tried to have, Minion, his class, it was...
Yeah, and then it was by 12 noon, they really got it back up and running, but the churches and the millions of people who had trouble yesterday, where it was incredible. Nigeria, India, UK, Germany.
You're part of
It was.
I just got an email from the parking authority for the Steeler games.
Good luck there.
What
What
they
they
say
say
out
is
there?
To know that the price is the same. They haven't raised the price.
Oh, that's nice of them.
Poor people.
That's really funny.
Did you get a notice that Young Judea is canceled this summer?
Today.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael told us today.
They're still deciding what to do with the money.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was funny. They said, we'll get back to you on the 28th with that. But,
Oh, really?
No.
I bet they hold it for next year.
they would like to, I think. Yeah.
Same way we had a cruise scheduled for July.
We did too.
Yeah.
Where's
And of course, they're holding our deposit. They
really?
won't- Yeah, they're not refunding the deposit.
Right, that's what they do. That's exactly what they do.
We had one. We're supposed to be in Italy right now, I think.
Oh,
or
now.
in
No,
July.
Yeah, August.
Aren't you in Italy? I thought you were there.
I don't know. Italy might be safer.
Why do you have a virtual background now of Italy?
Yeah.
Do you have Italy?
Nobody knows where.
I
it
love
is.
Italy. Yeah, we live.
Yeah.
Did you had grandkids going, right?
Yeah, well, down to just Ella.
The
Okay.
boys, they're done.
Yeah, they were done with camp, but Ella is going to be really disappointed.
Where were they going, Jenny?
To camp.
Oh,
Young Judea.
Yeah.
oh yeah. We had two going to Israel this summer. Guess what?
Oh, no.
Yeah, we had one. Matthew, the oldest, was going on an Israel trip.
Oh, really? With what group?
Oh,
Not quite sure which group
Oh.
that he was with.
Well, we had one of them was ours was going on Birthright, but I think
Oh, okay.
all
Yeah,
of them.
it was a 4-week trip.
Oh, how nice!
Yes, it would have been.
4 weeks. Oh, that's great.
But he already did, I guess after 8th grade, they've got some program out of Chicago that the 8th graders went for a week.
Do they go to day school?
No,
No,
No.
no, it was through the community.
I don't think there's a day school near them. Anywhere near them. They're so far out.
Oh, yeah, they're in, where are they again?
They're in
Geneva,
Geneva,
Batavia.
St. Charles, Geneva.
Yes. Okay.
You go any further west, you're in cornfields.
Okay.
Okay.
Where else?
You're in the next state over.
No, cornfield.
Yeah.
Oh, hi,
Oh,
kid.
man,
Hi,
that's
Nan.
so cute. Nan Mac. That is so cute. Here, let's unmute her. She's not. We can hear you now.
Oh, I have to rename.
It's better with this.
Nan Mac, that is so cute.
Oh, little parts of my name.
I like it.
What
I
is
like
it?
that.
Oh, and there's Herky. How are you,
Herky.
Paul?
We're
Doing
here.
fine, thank you.
Herky, you need a haircut, Herky. You're looking like Freud.
That's true.
Yeah.
No,
If you
Einstein.
if you know anyone,
I sent her the link.
We gave each
Why do
other
you think
hair.
I'm wearing a
You
hat?
do?
We gave each other
can her do it for us?
We bought clippers.
Yeah.
So I gave Irv a haircut and he gave me a haircut.
And I said we should do it long first and then make it shorter if we need it. But she said, no, just go.
Because
short."
I
Cohen, Cohen, looking.
I wear it short anyway, but this was too short.
Oh, really?
This
I
is
have
what, week
clippers.
number 3 with a.
Funny.
I do my own hair, but you can't look behind this area because it's really bad.
Oh, please resend Zoom link at
Right.
3. Okay, hold on. Our guest is
Our
saying,
guest speaker's trying to get on.
please resend Zoom link.
All right. Okay, she's coming.
No worries.
Very nice. Paul's on. All right. I do have people muted as they come in, just in case they're saying something inappropriate, because not everyone's ready to be, live on. And here's Sue Ellen. Very nice.
Okay. I'll tell her just sent it.
Okay. There we
It's
go.
nice out there.
Is it?
Are we muted? Are we muted? Yeah.
No, we can hear you.
No, we can hear
Don't say
you.
anything bad.
Oh, golly. Hi, Sue Ellen.
Here, let me unmute Sue Ellen.
Oh, yeah.
I think she'll unmute herself.
How is she
There she is.
responsible for that? That just go.
Here's Sue Ellen.
All right.
Now we
Hi,
can
Sue
hear.
Ellen.
Oh. Oh.
There you are. I
Okay.
think of you every
I don't
time I
think she-
sing harmony, Sue Ellen.
Okay.
Every time I sing
Yeah.
harmony at a service, I think of Sue Ellen.
We do miss
Harmonies.
harmonizing. Just it doesn't work on Zoom, but boy, I miss
No.
No.
I miss harmonizing, or listening to harmonizing. I don't. Art Cats is coming on.
there's
Is that JEANNA-MAR? Very
Hello,
nice.
JEANNA-MAR.
Okay, she's still coming
Okay.
on. Now she can
Oh,
hear us.
good.
Okay, and she unmuted herself. And
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
Look at her. And
She's
she's-
a pro.
And look, she's got her all behind her. Okay, I'm gonna mute everyone for a moment here. Okay, so here we go. Everyone is muted
Let's give
except for JEANNA-MAR.
Yeah, let's give
Okay.
it just another
Now,
minute.
JEANNA-MAR, you are unmuted. We are unmuted. We are. We're having a little late start. Some people are still signing on here.
So
I can
give
see
a
that
minute.
connecting to audio signature thing, and very nice.
How are you?
Good, very well, thank you. How are you all doing this afternoon?
Good.
No complaints.
Excellent.
I heard it's nice out.
It's gorgeous out.
My bedroom is 80 degrees and 50% humidity. So that's my
Yes.
office for my first 5 hours of meetings.
Okay, all right. Well, let's get started. And I will introduce JEANNA-MAR. We are so
There we
excited
go.
that
Let me
you're
get
with us.
spotlight.
Do you want to? And I think everyone on has done Zoom before, so you don't need to do.
You don't. I don't need my spiel, gallery spiel.
Nah,
Take it away.
I don't think
Fine.
so. Okay, so JEANNA-MAR is with us from Christ United Methodist Church, or actually from her home right now, but she is the director of missions and outreach. And she and I worked together and went on a mission together, and she's just a great person. So she is working on a committee for the census. And when she and I were talking and she was telling me all about the census, I thought it was so interesting and so timely. And guess what? When I picked up the Torah, I thought I would take a look at the Parsha. I had some time. And so I thought, I'll take a look at the Parsha. And would you believe it? We are in Bamidbar in the first book of Numbers. And what does it talk about? It talks about the census. I couldn't believe the timing. God spoke to Moses and said that you should take a census of the entire assembly of the children of Israel.
Everyone counts.
Well,
Absolutely.
except, it was
Right, Jody?
It was men above
Yeah.
20. And that is very different than our census. But I will just leave the quotation, then I'm going to turn it over to JEANNA-MAR. One of the commentaries on it is that, and women and everyone should have been counted when you realize the reasoning. Each member of the nation had a right to benefit from the personal attention of Moses and Aaron. And it was a great opportunity for every Jew who came before God to tell them their name and be counted as an individual. So I thought that was just a neat intro into our talk. And let's turn it over. JEANNA-MAR, tell us, if you don't mind, what is the census and why is it so important?
Certainly. The census is something that's mandated by our Constitution, and it's to happen every 10 years. The first census was 1790, and so there have been 24 censuses in the United States since then. It is to count every individual in the United States on April 1st. It is not to differentiate between citizens and non-citizens, which was question that was being considered to be added and in fact was not.
Thank you. And I honey, go to this one first.
Okay.
Go
You said stay.
to-
You told me to stay in order.
I know,
Okay.
except
Okay.
for go to. Okay, I'll go to the next one. Then we can go. So tell us, how did you get involved in this, and why is it important to you? Because it's kind of interesting, I think.
I didn't know that I was going to have an interest in the census. Approximately 18 months ago, the Jefferson Regional Collaborative, which I'm a member of, that is a coalition of about 90 nonprofits in the Mon Valley and South Hills that works to address needs within the community and work together to create change. And the collaboration has taken on civic engagement as a really important initiative among those 90 organizations and faith communities. And I didn't realize how little I knew about the census, and why should I care? I kind of remember getting it. Quite frankly, my husband wasn't really thrilled about filling it out. Why did he need my information? And I wanted to say, honey, they have our information anyway, but we'll be filling out the census. So for the last 18 months, I have been working with other nonprofits and faith communities to look at those communities that are undercounted. There is a significant number of people who choose not to complete the census for a variety of reasons, don't have access to computers, for example, this year. So actually the national response rate for the 2010 census was only 59%. That's kind of scary. So for me, it became an issue of justice and equity. So working in the towns of Clairton, Duquesne, Homestead, some of those communities that are historically undercounted, we have been working to get accurate information out to people. So I didn't, 2 years ago, didn't really care about the census. Know what an important impact it has in terms of our communities and those who are most vulnerable, quite frankly.
So tell us, how does it impact our communities? How does a census affect those who are in need? Those of us who would throw everything away that we get in the mail. So how does it impact our communities? What does it do? How does it help?
Census data is used in a variety of ways. One is representation in the House of Representatives. So each state is allocated a certain number of representatives based on its population. And this is the tool that is used. So if we are undercounted, we are also potentially underrepresented in the House of Representatives. So that's one really important issue or reason that the census is important. The second is the billions of dollars that are handed from the federal government down to the states to provide services for those who are most vulnerable. So programs like SNAP benefits, which are a food stamp program, free and reduced lunches for children and breakfasts for children in school, Medicaid. The Medicaid dollars that come down to the state of Pennsylvania come through the census numbers. How many of us don't like the potholes that seem to be prevalent in our area? So highway construction, those dollars are indicated by the number of people living in a community on how the federal government hands that down. And then the last thing is the data that's used to decide whether businesses open, manufacturing jobs. So if you live in a community that's historically undercounted, so I'll use Clairton as an example. In Clairton, they have historically had a very low response rate. And so when Giant Eagle is looking to decide whether or not they're going to open a grocery store in Clairton, they will pull out census data to indicate, not that many people live there. It's not going to be profitable for us. We're not opening a store there. So those are three key reasons representation, funding, and data.
Let me ask you, when you say that in 2010 that only 59% filled it out, so does that?
I actually need to correct that. That is the current response rate. I just looked down at my notes.
Oh, okay. No.
So right now, the current national response rate is only 59%. Pennsylvania is 62% of those residents have responded to date.
So if let's say whatever number it was in 2010, and it was a low number, let's say it was 65 or 70, does that mean is everything based off whatever numbers? It's not like they do any guesstimation. That's it, whatever it is.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And historically, the constituency groups, or those who are undercounted, are those living in rural America, senior citizens, low income, children ages 0 to 5, people of color. Those are the 5 largest groups that go undercounted.
And so what you're saying is they go undercounted, and so many of these people are the people that need the resources.
Wow.
And so then it continues with this problem. Wow. And
Absolutely.
So can you tell us some of the ways that they're trying to increase and especially now it's so challenging with COVID. And I know what are some of the ways that they try to get people to fill out the census and work with that inequity?
Sure. For the first time in history, the census was designed to be an online format. So that is the Census Bureau's preferred method of having people respond. There's a problem with that. We're seeing that with kids who don't have technology at home to be able to do schooling right now. So that has made it complicated. Some senior citizens, some people my age who just aren't that tech savvy, that is a deterrent. But the coalition of nonprofits for the Jefferson Regional Collaborative were given the challenge to up those numbers in the communities of need that we serve. So prior to this, we were working with, I'll give Duquesne as an example. Several churches in Duquesne decided to have the biggest Sunday dinner ever. And they got the school district involved. So they had 6 dinner sites in, I want to say, the last week of February, that you could come for a free meal and fellowship. There would be a census presentation and walk them through the steps to go online to fill out the census. Go ahead. If you don't fill it out online, is there a paper option? Absolutely, there is. You can actually even phone in and do the census on the phone. So if you did not complete your census by the 2nd week of April, you should have gotten a census form in the mail. If you still didn't fill it out, then they would send a second one. They will not send an enumerator to your house, meaning someone knocking on your door, and we're all a little conscious about strangers right now. They, at that point, will send people to your door if you have not responded, and that will happen through mid-August. It was extended at this point. Areas were hotspots because they have computer access. We were sending people into senior high-rises with laptops, come on down and we'll help you fill this out. So there was a real strong push before we've all stayed at home, but we're doing a lot of digital kind of outreach on this topic.
So JEANNA-MAR, got a hot button topic for you. Undocumented immigrants.
Okay.
Yeah, you said that I think you kind of said citizens and non-citizens counted, but there's always a concern about facing legal trouble or ICE fighting you. And by the way, everyone who's listening, although your microphones are turned off, you are able to chat with us. If you have a question for JEANNA-MAR, send me the chat, send us the chat, and we will present your question. But my question is undocumented immigrants. How and should they be? No matter what you say, are they still? Is there any fear of prosecution?
Well, there is no question on this census. It was struck down on citizenship. There was some political behind the scenes gyrations trying to get that to happen. In fact, the information that is submitted to the census is held only in an aggregate form for 72 years. So my landlord cannot come to my home or come to the apartment and find out that I have 3 generations living in my home. There's no mechanism in place for the law enforcement to access that individual data on someone's residence or people living in that residence. There's a lot of suspicion and related to the government and information, but I feel confident from the number of seminars I've sat in that it really is held in that confidence. So it cannot be used against you for legal proceedings, for evictions, for ICE, for deportation at all.
So we got a question related to
Good
that
question.
in the chat, which is, I understand why the race question was asked. I don't understand why there's a question about my European heritage. Do you know how that data might be used?
I've done a little research, and it's reading government websites is really not that much fun, nor is it very clear. The reason that they've asked that information, and there's some confusion because sometimes it seems to look at ethnicity, and then there's a follow-up question that kind of looks at your country of origin. So it's not a clear, when I did our census form, that was confusing to me, and I've been talking about the census for 18 months. They use that information so that there's an idea of the number of people falling into those demographic categories so that funds can be allocated as needed. Certainly for Native Americans, there's some special funding and programming that can roll down. For those in the Latino community, that is also true. So used to be able to determine what services are needed.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And how about this one? You can do that one.
Okay. So how much does each family represent in terms of dollars and cents for your community? So is there a dollar figure for a family or individual?
There is. And that was one of the things that shocked me and kind of made me want to take this on as a cause. For every family of 5 in our region that goes uncounted, so a family of 5 uncounted, that equates to approximately $100,000 per family unit over the next 10 years. That's huge.
Yeah. And that is the number that, and we should put it on something, because that is the number that when you and I were talking about this months ago, that I couldn't believe that. I thought if people knew how much they are giving up for their community by not filling out this census, $100,000 over 10 years in resources to the community. It's incredible. It's incredible.
That goes to fund libraries. It goes to fund hospitals, certainly the road system, all of those things. And if you're not counted, you're not going to get those resources to improve our communities.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
Yep. So, so who do you count? For those that haven't filled it out yet, and now that we all know how much it's worth to our community, don't worry, honey, I already did it. But But for those who haven't, how do you figure it out? Because I know it's confusing. Do you have parents living at home with you now, perhaps, or college students and all babies, as you said? How does one do it, JEANNA-MAR?
Sure. The census is designed to count who is living in your home on April 1st. So if you had, and this is a strange year for it to be happening, if you had a college student, for example, who is living outside of your home for 9 months and they should have been in school on April 1st, they would be counted by their institution, not by you. If your parents have a in-law suite in your home and they live there a majority of the time, and that is their permanent address, they would be counted in your census numbers. If you have a roommate, they would be counted. So it's not familial relationship, it's people putting their head on a pillow in your home. So it can be a friend that you've taken in who needs a place to stay. It's a very broad spectrum. It's who's in that home sleeping on a regular basis. Now, people like individuals who are homeless, those who may be in a nursing home or a group home, they are counted by their institutions. And if they are homeless, there is a coalition that counts on a couple of different days. So it might be through a feeding ministry, it might be through a homeless shelter, and there's an equation they use in those cases to equalize the numbers because it's really hard to get an accurate count of that population. There have been in the past where people actually go under a bridge or in the woods or wherever individuals might be living and take account.
Wow, that was my question.
So I was going to move on from the census and ask you about the mail-in primary. Unless, does anyone have any? Do you want to just go to gallery to see if anyone has any questions?
That's true. If they don't know how to chat, you'd have to go like this.
Does anyone have any questions that they? Okay.
Oh, Joni.
Oh, Joan.
Here we go.
I always have a question.
You
So,
can-
tell us again, JEANNA-MAR, right? Is that how I said it? Yeah. Tell me once again, what is or are the main objections that people, I don't mean that they don't have a computer, they would like to do it. That's not what I'm asking, but what would be an objection that people would have? I'm not going to do it, even though I have a computer, even though I know how to do it.
Sure. There's suspicion of the government. They say my information is private, but I don't really believe them. That's a huge one. The misinformation about the citizenship question, we worked extensively and helped get the documents translated for the Bhutanese community in Baldwin Whitehall. So there's that question. They don't need to know my business because there is information, date of birth, and some things that people want to keep private or are afraid of identity theft. So those are some of the primary reasons.
Thank you. Okay. So I know that you and I were talking about, as long as we're talking about civic engagement, we were talking about that today is the last day to mail in for the primary for, yeah, please.
The civic engagement is a huge concern as we go into a national election on November 3rd. The primary in Pennsylvania was moved to June 2nd. The governor also is allowing an expansion of the guidelines. So there's absentee ballots and there are mail-in ballots. Absentee means you're not in the state, you can't be there. A mail-in ballot, you don't have to give a reason, at least for this year, on why you're requesting a mail-in ballot. So today is the last day that if you are currently a registered voter that you may request a mail-in ballot. And it's really important because the timing to get you the ballot out, and it has to be returned to your election office by May 26th. So it is a tight, tight timeline. I did share with Rabbi Amy the website that you can do that to request a mail-in ballot. So what happens, you go on the website, you need to have a driver's license or a PEN.ID number. You complete it. I got a response, an email response. We've received your request. I got another email, your ballot's in the mail. I completed it, mailed it back in, and they indicated, yes, we have received your ballot. It will be counted on June 2nd.
Thank you, thank you.
Do you know the address?
You know, I was just trying to find
I'd send it to
I know
everyone.
you sent it.
Votes, VOTESPA.com, I believe is what I sent you, Amy.
Thank you. I couldn't find it, but I'm sure you did. So last is, so we have worked together, our synagogue and your church, and it has just been wonderful. And I know we did the Meals to Go program over last summer, and I know we were talking about what we could do together now, and what you are doing, and what we are so excited to do with you. And I want all of our people to know what we are so excited to do with you about, and I thought you could tell us.
Yeah, they just don't know it yet.
Yeah. But they're gonna love it.
Always. We've been very blessed to partner with your congregation in a couple of ways. Certainly the mission trip that you came on with us, and we'd love to have more members of your congregation once we're doing that again. We have participated in an interfaith Seder with the women. And so we've already laid the groundwork of being together in service and mission. This year, Christ Church is continuing to support the summer feeding program. Church Union, the United Methodist Church Union, has 20 feeding sites. And those sites are for children who normally would receive free and reduced lunch at their school during the school year. So these 20 sites are throughout the area. The closest one to us is in South Park. We do a lot of outreach in the city. So there's two kind of ongoing projects. Well, three, but two that Rabbi Amy and I've talked about. One is the need to collect books for preschool, elementary, and high school students. So we are conducting a book drive, and we'd really love for you all to join us. And we're looking for new or like new books, no magazines, no textbooks, that will be given to those students who have not had access to educational enrichment during this time. Some of the places that we are feeding children don't have internet access in those communities, lack the appropriate technology. You hear there's a lot of technology going into homes, but it has been sporadic and often not used in educational instruction the way we would hope. So the book drive, we're starting that now. I'm going to send Rabbi Amy a little advertisement and then ask that you all collect books. So your location, they'll come to ours, we'll sort them, and they will be bagged and handed out with the food to go meals on the Friday of the week that we're distributing those. And we have the potential to reach well over 1,200 students throughout the summer. So it's a kind of a big initiative. Westminster Presbyterian is actually joining us in this book drive. The second thing is something that families, I think, can get excited about. We wanted to do, before this whole pandemic, activity bags. And they are given out weekly, maybe every third week, to all the students who come get a meal. And we wanted it to be fun. So in these activity bags, we're putting in crayons, a coloring book, a stamp and some paper, funky sunglasses, Beanie Babies, just 4 or 5 items per bag that they'll have something fun and know that they are loved. So we are going to put together kind of a format to share with you all that families can, we ask maybe 5, 10 bags, or 2, it doesn't matter. But those bags would be put together. We would decide age appropriateness, and then they would be distributed also with those food to go bags in those 20 locations across Pittsburgh. So we'd be really excited to have you all join us in doing that. And it's something fun that a family can do together.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we did receive another question, and I know you've touched on it, but it's a good one. It seems that the people who have the most to gain by appropriate resource allocation are the ones who might be less likely to complete the census: the homeless, not intentionally, or the undocumented. Apart from better marketing, how can this be improved? So what can we do to improve getting people down who, don't even know it exists, or it's hard to find? What can we do?
That was the work of the advisory group I have been working with for the last 18 months. So we have partnered with organizations that serve those populations. So there are family support centers that work with predominantly Latino families. And so going into those communities and providing education in their language, providing interpreter if necessary, and someone actually to ask the questions and key it in. So those things are happening. For the people in your congregation, it's asking the question of your niece, your uncle, your neighbor, hey, did you fill out the census? And asking them to ask people. So there's been a very concerted effort, not just within the Jefferson region, but Allegheny County has been on the forefront in Pennsylvania of tapping into those places where the most vulnerable and least likely to complete are. So it's been ongoing.
I am so appreciative. For those of you, I hope you'll get a chance to meet JEANNA-MAR in person. She's come to our synagogue in the past, and we are so grateful that you are with us. Thank you so much. And we will look forward to working with you in the future. So again, a few things to take from this. The Torah says to do the census, and the government says to do the census. So do the census.
Your rabbi says.
And also, if you can, start looking around your house for some gently used books, and we'll come up with a drop-off site outside, and then we'll contactless drop-off site, and we'll take care of getting them over to Christ United. And thank you all so much for joining us.
Yeah, I'm going to unmute all. So you're all unmuted. That's why I hear background noise. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Gina.
Thank you, JEANNA-MAR.
Thank you for the interfaith effort.
Thank you, JEANNA-MAR.
Check your email from last night for all the events coming up in the week. And thank you for sticking by. And even though it's a nice day out, it's good to see you inside. You got to go inside every now and then and go on the computer. Yeah. Be on the computer more.
Be well, everyone.
Okay, everybody.
Thank
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Very interesting.
Thanks.
Sue Ellen, thank you. JEANNA-MAR, wonderful. Good job.
Thank you, JEANNA-MAR.
Okay, Jackie.
Bye, Bernice. Bye, Sue Ellen. Hello,
Bye.
Jackie.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And shut off.